The Lifestyle Show, presented by Selena Mackenzie.
In her book called The Joy Exchange, she offers an inspiring and entertaining invitation to discover for yourself rewards of entering into the lives of those with diverse abilities and experiences. She's here to tell us more. Great to have you on the show with us, Laura.
Hey there. It's great to be here. I did show up and I'm happy to be here.
I'm so glad you did. I'm not having the best day technically, I can tell you. This is a great idea for a book because I think we all need to learn a thing or two. Did this come from a personal experience?
Yeah, it did. So an interesting story that you may enjoy hearing is, so I've been with the organization. I run a nonprofit 501c3 here in the United States called ESP, Extra Special People. And we serve children and young adults with developmental disabilities, a little over 1,500 members. And I've been with the organization since I was 19, took over after the passing of our founder from pancreatic cancer. And throughout the last 20 years, I've kind of observed this joy, but it really wasn't until about 2 years ago. I was in London and we had brought two of our individuals with disabilities over to London. We call them Joyristas. So joy plus barista equals Joyrista. We serve coffee and spread joy through our Java Joy program. And we were in London in the Claridge's Hotel with an event with Tom Holland's foundation, the Brothers Trust. And something happened at that event that completely changed the atmosphere of the event. And it was then that I knew that the people I had been surrounded with, people with disabilities, had really taught me what joy was. And I got to work on the research and learned a lot about neuroplasticity and the understanding of how joy is actually created. And then I wrote the book about my story, about people with disabilities, about the story in London, and then about the research behind joy.
So apologies for my ignorance, Laura, but what's neuroplasticity?
So neuroplasticity is what we now know about the brain. 20 years ago, researchers thought the brain was fixed. Really what happens between 0 and 5 years of age really is where your brain has the most neuroplasticity or opportunity to change and rewire. But what we now know about the brain is that even in older age, you can change and rewire your brain. And the research shows that you actually can rewire and build your capacity for joy if you know how to find it. And so I build that and weave that opportunity that we all have to build our joy capacity in our brains, to rewire our brains and build our capacities for joy.
Can I ask you how, or is it not a simple answer?
It's actually it's more simple than you would think. I do make a plea in the book that it's often people you least expect and interacting with people who are different from you that help build your joy capacity. But you can build your joy capacity. Like now, if you are listening, there's a few different ways, easy ways to build your joy capacity and rewire your brain for joy. And joy is just simply delighting in the person in front of you. And what that means is it might be physical touch. It might be bright eyes. It might be someone who's happy to see you. Like if you think about your best friend or your spouse or your children or your mom or your grandmother. And when you walk in, their eyes light up. They smile. They are happy to see you and be with you. Being able to delight in the person in front of you is one way that you're able to build your joy capacity. And, in today's day and age with technology, it's getting more and more challenging for us to be joyful because we are more transactional in our relationships than we are relational in our relationships. So we really have to work at delighting in the person in front of us. And so it might be a hug to your husband or your wife. It might be a smile to the person when you're checking out your groceries, and a question to them. But the way we build joy is through delighting in the person in front of us.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. If I'm ever somewhere, say like in a supermarket, and I mean, I naturally hold the door open for somebody, but if they say, oh, thank you, it just gives me a bit of a buzz. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's what I call the joy exchange, right? It's, some people see, oh, well, that might be socially awkward. But when you lean into the awkwardness, you find the aha on the other side. And that opening the door for someone and having that exchange brings joy to you, but it also brings joy to them. And that is the joy exchange. And it's interesting because, as we age, we tend to lose that. We get more isolated and we get more socially awkward. And yet people with disabilities oftentimes never lose that social awkwardness. They never lose that ability to lean in or lack of social awkwardness, rather. So I really have learned from people with disabilities the importance of that social and human connection and how that builds our capacity for joy.
And I do think, forgive me if you don't agree and let me know, but it does seem like we're understanding and appreciating people with diverse abilities more now. We're not just thinking, well, they're different and so they can go in the corner. We're appreciating it more and understanding them.
No doubt. There's an incredible push towards this idea of looking at people's abilities before we see their disabilities. And we all have things in our lives and in our brains and in our bodies that we're not great at. And I think for many years, people with disabilities were protected away. And I think now they're more public, whether it's in ads and marketing, or whether it's in communities, they're more included. And I think that's great for everybody, right? It's great for me and you that may not have a diagnosed disability, but it's great for them to be an active part of the community, being able to provide purpose to their own lives and then also purpose for ours.
Yeah, for sure. So in the book, obviously, you mentioned that you go through your own journey. Do you have other people's stories as well?
Oh, yes. So you will hear the thread of it is my story taking over when I was young as a 19-year-old, and then how we've grown our organization to where we've gotten today, which is in 5 different cities, and we're growing even beyond that. But there's all of these micro stories, which is so beautiful. You'll laugh, you'll cry. The book is called The Joy Exchange: Finding Life's Greatest Lessons in Those You Least Expect. And there's we call them co-authors. So we've been on a book tour and we've been all over the United States in multiple different cities. And what's been so neat is that every different city we go to, we have different co-authors at those events. And those co-authors are people whose stories are in the book, The Joy Exchange. And you'll read about them. You'll fall in love with these co-authors. And now they're having an opportunity to go on a book tour. And the book tour is called The Joy Parade. And we've had the opportunity to travel all over. And, many of us that travel for work, we can think, oh, it's annoying. We got to leave our home. We don't get to sleep in our bed. But if you have a diagnosed disability, oftentimes you've never been asked, will you come on a book tour? Will you come and travel? Will you pack your suitcase and go through TSA and hop on an airplane because your skills and abilities are needed in another city? And we've been able to do that over the last 3 months. We've been in 10 different cities, traveling with people with disabilities, allowing them to have their first ever business trips. And it's been fantastic.
That's wonderful. And please tell me that one of those is on your website. She's beautiful. A picture of you both wearing the same blouse. She's absolutely gorgeous, holding your book.
Yeah, so that would be Suzanne. So Suzanne is in the book. You'll have to read about her. She's in one of the latter chapters. She actually designed the artwork of the book.
Oh, wow.
And so her painting is the cover of the book, The Joy Exchange. And you'll read about her story, why that painting is significant to the book and to the Joy Exchange. So she's fantastic. She's traveled with me on many of the trips, and you will fall in love with her when you read the book.
I already have, just looking at her. She's beautiful. Got a lovely smiley face. Well, there's also actionable tools in the book that can help you embrace a more joy-filled life and of connection and belonging. But I'm guessing that the book will also be very inspirational.
No doubt. Yeah, I've heard from so many people just that they, even individuals that aren't readers have said they couldn't put the book down, that they were laughing and they were crying, and it helped to shift their own perspectives about people with disabilities, and they saw themselves in that. I think we all want to treat people with kindness, but sometimes we don't know how. I think we all want joy, but sometimes we don't know how. And so the book does, I did my best to weave together stories and inspiration along with really practical tools on how to lean in to people who are different. What does compassion look like? What does leadership look like? What does servitude look like? And ultimately, how do you find joy in all of that? So it's practical, but it also make you laugh and cry at the same time.
And I'm guessing it's going to be really good for the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the story starts taking over the nonprofit organization at 19, and I think there was, some really key things I learned at a very young age that are so applicable now. I mean, probably even more applicable now more than ever. And, things like purpose and things like belonging and things like, service sometimes can be really about, okay, what's going to be on my transcript or applying for colleges and universities, instead of how do I find the best version of myself by serving? How do I go volunteer and exercise these muscles, try out these things so that I can be find the best version of myself, so I can know what I want to do for a living and what job I want to work, so I can know how to interact with people. So I think these things are key. If you have someone graduating from high school and moving on to college, this book is perfect for them. It'll keep them captivated this summer when they're on vacation, but also really be a practical tool on how to lean in as they move into adulthood.
Well, for our listeners, the book is a must-read for everyone interested in making the world a more fulfilling place. It's called The Joy Exchange, Finding Life's Greatest Lessons in Those You Least Expect, and it's by Laura Hope Whittaker. And as always, we're selling it right now on our website, tre.radio. Laura, if people want to find out more about you, do you have a website as well?
I do. It is laurahopewhitaker.com, and I would love to engage with you on social media platforms like LinkedIn or Instagram. I'm Laura Hope Whittaker, and laurahopewhitaker.com.
Well, keep up the good work, and thank you so much for telling us just a little about the book.
Thanks for having me, and I hope I turned your day around a little bit.
You certainly did. I feel a lot more relaxed now. Thank you, Laura. Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.